I've been doing that Madeira cast finish with Amaro instead of vermouth in a Manhattan, and it's really good because the Madeira gives you enough of those vermouth notes.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's a good.
Why do you have this up? Shouldn't you have this laying down like that so you can see it?
Because you're not going to see it there.
You're not going to be able to see what that is.
You can put it down. I don't care.
I'll just hold it
under your chin the whole time.
Yeah.
St. Bernard style.
Yeah.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters.
Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
I'm Gold Eagle Jake.
And I'm Gary.
Garry.
Yeah, we got Garry back talking about some new picks for Oak at the Glen. They're going to be dropping on the 24th.
Ooh, I'll be there.
Tuesday.
All right, Tuesday the
That's my
24th.
birthday. Happy birthday to me.
I'll be there for the release.
All right, but yeah, we've got a couple of great picks coming up that night. Some special guests coming in to talk about them. We are dropping 2 single barrel picks that we did up in Vermont at Whistle Pig earlier this year, and then we're the first to market with a single barrel bourbon for their piggyback series, and we also did a piggyback rye and the full proof as well. And then while we were down there in Kentucky, we stopped through to see Macaulay and dropped in at Dark Arts, and we decided to pick up one of the single barrels that he had us taste while we were at his warehouse in Lexington. So nice. We're going to do all 3 as a special event drop on Tuesday the 24th at the restaurant. It's going to include 2 cocktails, kind of a competing piggyback cocktail, Old Fashioned versus Rye Manhattan. And then we're going to do a neat pour of our Dark Arts single barrel pick, which is a white port finish 8-year bourbon. And it is a phenomenal summer sipper. So we're going to sip and talk about these today. For the event, it's $50, and you get all 3 beverages, as well as 3 great food items from our menu. We're going to pass around some bacon wrapped shrimp, which are always a hit. We got some dirty rice, and we've got some risotto as well. So some really good food pairings to go along with it, and some guests to talk about the Whistle Pig and Dark Arts. So it'll be a great event.
Yeah, Garry knows how to plug up front. So
get out of the way before we start.
Yes.
If there's anything I ever learned from Ron Swanson, it's that bacon wrapped shrimp are my favorite food, wrapped around my 3rd favorite food.
That's good.
Love you, Ron Swanson.
So, Garry, how's the restaurant been since our last episode a few months back?
Business has been great. You always worry about those winter months, but now the patio's open, so a lot of faces coming in, a lot of regulars coming in. We've had a great response from the last Bourbon Matters podcast on visitors to the restaurant that heard about us and came in to try it out. Cool. We've been doing some great barrel picks along the way. People signing up for our Barrel Club program. People trying out a lot of our single barrels that we have on the menu. I think we have about 11 or 12 single barrel picks on the menu right now to sample, as well as in flights against the regular version of those whiskeys, which is a great way to try the difference between what the regular selection of the larger produced on the shelf whiskeys taste like versus how good a barrel pick can be from that same company. So we've had a lot of response. Been busy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that flight option is really cool, just to show people. I don't think most people understand how much better a barrel pick can be than the standard offering.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to have them right next to each other and really get to tease those differences out.
Mm-hmm. Now, are most of these barrel picks, are you guys selling bottles to go, or are most of them pouring and cocktailing?
So the way we're going to use the 2 Whistle Pigs, like I said, we're going to debut them in our new house Old Fashioned with the bourbon, and then it'll be our new signature Manhattan for the Whistle Pig Rye. We're going to pour the Dark Arts Neat. I think it's a great summer sipper once we get to sampling that one. All the bottles that we do single barrel picks are available for sale in the restaurant that night. So we're gonna put them first up for sale that night. We do have about 10 different single barrels for sale currently in the restaurant. We have a limited supply left of the Rye 3s that we sampled last time for the event we did in February.
Those are really good. Fantastic.
Very good.
But yeah, and then we've got a few that we're just closing out and getting rid of that we only have like 3 or 4 cases left of that are on a good deal right now if you stop in. I actually had a friend stop in Friday night when I picked up these bottles because we got them from the distributor Friday. Came in, he decided to sample one of our old Jefferson Ocean single barrels from 2 years ago. We bought a single barrel voyage from the South Caribbean. Wonderful single barrel pick that came in at 118 proof, and it's one of just the smoothest pours you'll get. And we had it featured on the menu. He's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's one of the greatest single barrels we've done." And it's just people see that name and don't trust it as much anymore, unfortunately. They haven't been putting out the greatest of releases over the past year or so it's kind of faded away. But it's a phenomenal pour to get to try neat for something that's unique.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any more of that Maker's Mark. One,
no,
two.
No.
But that one was unbelievable.
Way to talk about things people can't have, Jake. Good job. Good job.
Well, if you're very interested in the Makers, and I'm sure we could find a way to do it, we do still pour that on occasion for private groups that we offer like a private group whiskey experience where you can get 4 to 5 of our single barrel pours paired with shared appetizers, and we'll pour that in there on occasion. And then if you're really interested in buying it, I know there might be a few left in the back, but you can't just walk in and buy that alone.
So you have a guy in the back that you can get stuff from, like Gold Eagle does?
We save them for those events pretty much versus just
listening to the cast.
Yeah. Awesome.
I can't wait till everyone starts walking into the Oak and be like, "What do you got in the back, Gary? Got any Wellers back there? Got those Taylors?"
Yeah, that Blanton's
private collection back there. So what are we drinking right now?
So we're starting off with
a honey graham cracker.
So we were actually the first in Illinois for Whistle Pig to release the single barrel bourbon from their piggyback collection. So they just started the piggyback bourbon. I want to say it was about 3 months ago, came out 4 months ago, to go along with complementing the piggyback rye that's been around for a while. But we are the first to be able to offer a single barrel selection from that and at full proof. So this is a full proof pick out of the barrels that go into that piggyback release. And we are sipping it now. Everybody's first impression on the nose, I think, was pretty surprising. I think that's what made us fall in love with it right away. It's very, very honey graham, honeycomb, sweet, smooth, no alcohol bite on the nose.
This smells more like a candle than it smells like a bourbon.
I would put this as a candle in the kitchen for sure.
It is straight honey graham cracker. Super easy to drink. And I got to give a shout out to Wilson. If we're talking about Whistle Pig, shout out Wilson. What's the proof on this? Yeah, 111 proof. It's a perfect proof point. This is almost like a good summer sipper.
Right.
With how kind of sweet and
light.
Yeah.
Bonfire with
some
s'mores.
Good body to it. Yeah. Some good back end on the finish.
Yeah, it has a nice longer finish for a good proof point. Not too overproof for a cocktail pour. I mean, you're right in that 110, 111 range. So
now, what's also cool about these, if I'm not mistaken, they are Whistle Pig's own distillate.
Yes.
From Vermont, where Whistle Pig, when you think of Whistle Pig, a lot of people think of Canadian rye whiskey, because that's kind of how they built themselves. And, it's cool to see them, after all these years, finally release some of their own distillate.
Yes. Yeah, so this is, they spent their time figuring out what mash bill for the bourbon they wanted to use. It's still a high rye mash bill to get some of that rye in there. But you're really getting the right oak, vanilla sweetness you want out of a bourbon. They aged it to that 6 years to give it the time it needed, especially in a climate up there that doesn't get as hot like you would down in Kentucky. So they're aging it all right there in Vermont, distilled right there. So it's a great product that they're making there, that they made the right choice to wait and not rush on, which I think was a really good decision to do.
Yeah.
When
they keep the age statement even for the single barrels too.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. Not super common,
Right. So this one, like I said, 111 proof is going to be a great, neat drinker for any bourbon enthusiast or someone just entering bourbon who's not quite sure what to get to try neat as a standalone. This is a great intro, especially for full proof.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially that higher proof is a great one for people to step up from that 90, 100 proof.
Yeah. And it's hot out here right now, and it's pairing pretty well with the weather.
Yeah, we're getting our first 80 day in Chicago outside of that one crazy back-to-back 90s we had, which I was in 60-degree weather, not even able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would have swapped you in a heartbeat. I would have swapped you 1 second.
I'm liking this outdoor recording thing. I think we got to do this more often.
Yeah. I'll do mine with a mountain in the background.
Yeah, Dan's packing up, leaving us.
It's probably the last live one we do all together till the holidays, maybe. Do a special one around the holidays when I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
We can record out here around the holidays too.
You got a fire pit right here.
Yeah. So, before we switch over to the rye, Garry, tell us about the experience of going to Whistle Pig, because it is like one of the coolest experiences and one of the few things that I haven't been able to do yet.
So it was really, really exciting to be able to be invited out to the actual farm. They're in central Vermont. It's just beautiful land. It's surrounded by 500 acres of natural farmland and trees and just pure country beauty that you would want. I mean, it's all 2-lane highway. You're not just hopping off an interstate to some brand new high fancy distillery. You pull up, there's the giant barn with the Mortimer on the front with the pig with his cigar, and they walk you through. I think when I was there, I sent a picture to Jake. They had a "Scotch is dead" sign on the wall that I had to send.
Right, never mind, I'm not going.
But it's a really cool experience. They really set you up to be well taken care of. They reach out ahead of time, tell you the best ways where you're going to fly into, because you got a couple choices. They pick you up at the airport, and they just make you feel at home. They give you a list of about 8 or 10 different excursion type things you can do while you're there. You stay right in the farmhouse on property. They have a big, I think it was like a 5-6 bedroom farmhouse, bathroom, kitchen, a chef on site that makes amazing breakfast and dinner for you. You have a tour guide for the town. One of the cool experiences we got to do was go to actually cast the pewter toppers for the Boss Hog bottles, where they actually cast the toppers for bottling, and they melted the toppers down and gave us a really cool coin for the heads to tails. I think I brought it with. That is the Whistle Pig pewter topper. That's cool. With the snout and tail, so you can have a Whistle Pig coin.
Just drop it. Just drop it. Just drop it. Nothing special.
They take you to you get the choices of going to some local breweries and cideries that are there, which is cool to kind of step away from bourbon and rye for a bit. full tour of the property. You get to go feed the pigs that they have. It's just a great event, and you feel like family. You gotta. They walk you through the history. They take you through the entire collection. Every bottle they have, basically, we got to sample and try while we were there, walking us through from their base level stuff all the way through to their 25-year single malt. And you get to try and learn about all of them in their upstairs farm bar that's just gorgeous, all reclaimed, and, shuffleboard tables and ping pong, you name it. You got it all there for you. The house has a great upstairs, like, just social room with, they got guitars and karaoke and pool table. You don't ever have to leave that place, and you'd be a very, very happy person. And they just take great care of you. Wilson, of course, he was there with us. He's a great host for it. But yeah, they did. The only way to go is, unfortunately, you can't go visit the property just if you want to swing through. They do have some tasting rooms in the area, but this is, you're invited there to pick barrels.
Yeah.
And we came out to pick one, and ended up picking 3. So one later to come this year. You'll see it in the fall, but we also have a 3rd one on the way.
Nice. Yeah, and the 10-year has like a special significance for me because that was like the first super nice bottle that I bought in college to celebrate wrapping up a project. And I was hooked on rye after that. So.
Yeah, the 10 years of very, very great experience. They've already actually called us back and invited us to come pick another barrel in October.
Cool.
So we're excited to go back out and see the guys again and pick another. We're going to aim for something older on our next pick for sure.
Nice.
Now, the most important question I have for you with how I grew up, what breed of pigs are they raising out there?
Oh, if I only could remember.
Yorkshire?
I have pictures. They were.
I'll take a look at them later. I'll let you know.
yeah, they were. They had two on site right now. Unfortunately, one they lost a couple years ago. He was the older head pig.
Head pig? Yeah, that's what they call it. That's what they're known as.
The HPIC. But yeah, it's a great experience. I really hope Gold Eagle gets a chance. Jake, I hope you guys
someday they'll sell enough whiskey to do it.
At some point we will. We've tried a few times. It just timing wise didn't work out. I mean, it is a kind of a trek a little bit to get out there and get to, but we will make it happen someday.
It's good for a wedding though.
It's perfect. And all the people, it's a good excuse not to have 300 people there.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to the rye.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a good.
If you like honeycomb and graham cracker, you got to go seek out this barrel, and I bet you it'll be great in the old fashioned.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't even need just like a tiny dash of that Whistle Pig maple syrup.
Yeah.
Oh, that barrel aged
That would
maple
be
syrup that they
perfect.
had. They sent. We definitely got sent home with cases of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Gary wants to make sure we don't walk out.
I was pouring blind, like overhand. I couldn't see. Sorry.
Now,
I gotta hop on a flight at 2, so this is a good. I can skip the lounge today.
as a disclaimer, the first time I ever had piggyback rye was on the show, and I thought it smelled like I was putting straw bedding down in a hog barn. So.
Yeah, well, that one was a Revolution beer barrel finish.
Oh, the one you did that.
I can't
the
remember.
VSOJ or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't the standard.
No, but the standard Whistle Pig 6-year piggyback, it does have a very distinct rye character to it.
Yeah.
There's no mistaking piggyback 6-year rye as a rye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way.
And I think talking to Wilson about that, it is intended to be a cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
The standard piggyback.
The standard,
The price point is
the
set
price
for
point's
that
there.
and
The
everything,
proof
so,
is there.
Yeah.
They actually we stayed for 2 nights at the farm, and both nights you have your host, you have your chef, but you also have hosts that operate a bar for you and teach you to make Whistle Pig cocktails at the bar. They have all the mixery, all the ingredients, all the bar tools. They have a very, very cool topper for making smoked old fashions that has a pig nose that you fill with their wood from their barrels that they shave up, and you put the wood shavings from their barrels in the pig's nose, and you light it, and it fills the glass with smoke, and you pull it off. Make a great Whistle Pig 10-year old fashioned with that finished 10-year is a really, really great option. So thoughts on the rye, Dan?
It's rye.
Okay, so I didn't get a lot of that. Like it's rye notes. Like I think this
It's
is
pretty mild.
Yeah, it's the rye version of the bourbon. Like I'm still getting the honey, but it's not as prevalent. And I'm not getting a ton of spice, but there's a bit more than the bourbon. And I'm just smelling curry because the neighbor is cooking something. But
I'm getting more of like the cinnamon and clove.
Yeah, I think we went. We tried to steer away from those grassier, hot dill notes that can be offensive to people who are not huge rye fans. Obviously, coming from the same mash bill, distillate, things like that, you're not going to be able to get rid of them 100%. We're not wanting to. You want it to be a rye. But this one had that characters of those rich, dark baking spices that we really wanted to get in there that made it a much more pleasant, longer finish than just being left with that rye pepper spice or those green notes you would get out of a standard rye.
Yeah, the finish for me is like all baking spice.
Yeah, so I think this is really going to complement adding richness and complexity to the Manhattan we're going to do this with.
Definitely.
Like you said this was intended to be, at the 100 proof, is intended to be a cocktail rye in the first place.
Yeah,
but I think this one takes you to the level where this can be a perfect, simple, neat pour for someone introducing themselves to rye, not going to be overtaken by all the rye. It does have the pepper that you would get maybe from the rye because it gives you that rye tingle. But yeah, I think it got rid of a lot of those offensive
was
notes.
This one 106?
So this one comes in at 106.8. So it's not much more above their 100 proof that they do for
it's a really good cocktail proof point, especially for a boozy Manhattan or something, a nice prohibition style cocktail.
I think it's going to make a nice change over from the last Madeira cask finish that we did for our signature rye Manhattan that we've been running since our February release.
Yeah, actually, that would be a fun side by side. Those two cocktails, just switch out the whiskey and keep everything else the same.
Yeah, this one will, I think, keep the cocktail a little bit brighter. Sometimes I think Manhattans can get too
whiny,
fruity, and whiny. Or this will, I think, keeps that honey kind of brightness, and that'll help complement the vermouth really well, make it really complex.
So yeah, this is Dan's not commenting, so I know it's hitting the rye notes for him.
Poured it for Dan blind.
No, I got the nose on this one, the taste on this one. I'm not a rye fan, and I'm definitely not a Whistle Pig rye fan. So I will just leave it at that.
Fair enough. It's not going to be for everyone.
My tasting notes are going to be far off of what you guys are saying, and they're not going to know them. We'll talk about them after.
I wonder if there's just some.
I don't like Manhattans though. I don't drink much for cocktail. I hardly ever drink a cocktail anymore.
You're the worst.
Like if they don't have a good whiskey at a bar, I'm going to go with a beer, and that's where I'm at. But if they have a good whiskey, I can have neat. That's what I don't drink cocktails anymore. I'm just like.
I like to go in and try a restaurant's signature cocktails. That's where I'll go away from my standard. Like if I don't normally, I don't normally drink gin, for example. But if your signature cocktail at a restaurant has gin, and you're putting your name on it, I'm going to give it a try, even if it's not my favorite distillate, not my favorite spirit. I'm going to give you a try. And we do have a really great cocktail list for people who don't like bourbon.
Yeah.
I really would say if you're wanting a really interesting summer cocktail, we have a strawberry paper plane
Yeah,
that we have
really
been
good.
selling crazy now that it's starting to get warmer to go out on the patio.
Mhm.
And everybody gets worried about that bitterness that you get from the Aperol in a paper plane.
It's not
But that hint of strawberry that goes in there just completely changes and smooths out that cocktail. So
yeah. Well, that bitterness helps with like the lime and the whiskey too.
right.
Kind of helps smooth everything out really well.
Yeah.
But,
And you get a fun little paper plane to
Yeah.
play around with after you've had a few.
You ever walk in and just see paper planes flying around, everyone throwing them at each other?
They'll give them to their kids and they'll walk around like this and, and they have a little bit of fun.
So the thing I was just thinking about this cocktails is like one thing people get wrong with whiskey cocktails and why they don't like whiskey is because they think of what whiskey is and they never think with fruit. But some of the best, like I've never had the strawberry paper plane, but I've had strawberry whiskey smashes before, which are phenomenal. I've had
regular whiskey smash.
I mean, I was at a wedding the other weekend that I was in, and they only had Jack and Jim. I don't drink a lot of cocktails, and it was in Wisconsin. I forget the other types of beer they had. I didn't like them, and Spotted Cow Tap wasn't working at the time.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here?
that should be illegal in Wisconsin.
I know, that's what I thought too. I'm like, isn't there just a direct line to Nicoleris from
It
here?
goes,
Like,
it goes through
isn't
your
that
water.
part of the sewer
Yeah.
system?
Yeah.
There's water, there's sewer, and there's Spotted Cow line. Apparently, that's not the case. So I had to get creative with what they had, and they were serving margaritas. And I said, hey, margarita with Jim instead of tequila. And there's 4 people right there that were like, ew. And I'm like, try this. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah.
It's not too different than like a reposado or añejo margarita.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you know what I actually like is a white dog margarita.
Ooh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think people a lot of times think fruit and whiskey don't go together, and they go pair really well
But
together.
I mean, the bourbon and blues.
Oh, Bourbon and Blues at Whiskey Acres is phenomenal, yeah. So
And we found out that espresso martinis with bourbon is really good.
Yeah. That was a great Texas find, and
Uh-huh.
we needed that for the rest of that night after our day sipping
Does-
40 pours of barrel-proof stuff.
with the espresso, does Sabrina Carpenter come with it, or is it just
If you want it to,
because I would do
if you
that?
have enough of them.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I don't know what you're referencing.
No, the bourbon's really good. This big bourbon's really good.
Well, I think it's going to be really cool that we'll be first to market. We're going to
Yeah.
have some, like I said, having the 2 competing cocktails. I think we're going to do like a little vote for your favorite, see which one wins between the 2 versus the 2, the Manhattan versus the Old Fashioned. Obviously, beyond paying for your ticket for the event, you can order them neat, but as well, we'll have a full bar service and as well during the event. But yeah, you're more than welcome to order one neat and see how it is by its standalone and try from there. Encourage you to try other barrel picks while you're there. If you're going to make the trek to Glenview, a lot of our listeners, it's not relatively close. We have a lot of people, between here, Libertyville and North that are regular listeners, but Glenview isn't the
It's not hard
closest,
to
but
get
it's
to.
right
It's
on the
hard to get
highway.
to.
We're
It's
right
worth
there.
making the trip.
Yeah, we did it during an ice storm last time.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. Getting home from that night was a very interesting. I think I had a 14-year-old Prius pick me up and take me home in the ice with 2 hands the whole way at maybe 30 miles an hour. But yeah.
I walked out carrying the whole setup, and I think slid all the way to my car.
Feet flat, go.
Wild.
Yeah, skied to your car, but yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. All right, I think we'll move on to any more comments on Whistlepig or questions about the farm or the experience.
The one question I had you couldn't answer.
Sorry.
Golly.
I could pull out my phone. I'm sure it's on the website.
Can you give us a hint at what the next one's going to be?
Let's just say it was something that introduced you very, very well to high-end bourbon and whiskeys. and we'll see that in the fall.
So go rewind if it's not ringing a bell.
Or listen to any other episode.
Yeah.
Jeez. Definitely you're going to skip that lounge.
Yeah.
I'll go just a light one. Just a light one. I got
Just
some
a light
driving to do
one,
there.
1.5
There you go. There we are. There
Should
we
I do
go.
the Drew test and
Yeah.
see where I got it, how close I got to 1 ounce?
Oh, boy.
Perfect. Look at that.
The joys of outdoor recording.
I think I could nail it by now.
That's why we're short on all the bottles.
But that's what Glens are designed
That's like
for.
more than
No. If a 1 ounce pour will touch your edge on a Glen,
Is that for real?
that's a 1 ounce pour.
Oh, well,
That's how you measure. That's what they're. That's the if a true Glen is shaped that way.
I was gonna say that
I
might
thought
not be a
Drew
true
just
blend.
did that out of
Was-
some
was-
weird habit.
No.
No, he measures sometimes.
Yeah. When he puts the topper on, he can't not pour it right with
Right.
the toppers,
Yeah.
but it's how often he pulls out a topper.
Mhm.
But we all love Drew.
Oh, God, yeah. Mhm.
See, the challenge you got to do on the podcast is drink a full one of these, a barrel proof, during the podcast.
Without
That's
spilling.
that's the true challenge.
Yes.
That you
And
gotta
that's
do.
after you forgot we were recording and already had a bunch of pours that
Yeah.
day.
It's a good challenge.
Yeah.
I won.
You didn't
Yeah.
spill.
I don't know what the prize was.
I don't
but
know if you won, but you survived.
Yeah.
It's winning.
You completed the challenge.
When do you survive? Do you not count that as winning?
So yeah, moving on. So this Dark Arts. Now everybody knows Dark Arts. You know, Macaulay is an amazing dude. Invited us down because we were actually at. This was when we went down to Bourbon Con in Lexington. It's every January. It's an amazing event in Kentucky. It's probably one of the best priced events for a bourbon experience and a really awesome event to get to know new distillers into the market because they give younger, newer distilleries a really good place to shine
Nice.
for the event. And it's an all-in ticket, meaning it includes your hotel, your 2 days to the event, and your food. So you can go stay at the hotel. It's a nice resort, and you don't ever have to leave. Obviously, if you want to go do other tours of distilleries, things like that, you're in Lexington. But if you just want to go and experience and not have to worry about all that other stuff, great event. So shout out to Bourbon Con if it's something
So
you're
what else
interested
goes
in.
on at that event? Is it just like they're setting up booths, or do they have like little masterclass breakouts? Or
They have a lot of masterclass breakouts. They have food pairing challenges where, like, with culinary experts that do bourbon pairings with food. They teach you cocktail making. They teach you sensory experiences. You meet master distillers and learn about it. So they do a great job of breaking up tasting versus learning versus, pairing food and dinners, and it's just at a really nice place. They have vendors that come in that sell goods, of course, like candles and furniture and chocolates that are made with bourbon, things like all that kind of stuff. So it's broken out across a good area.
Is
So-
that more of like a industry leaning event, or is it like public accessible?
I mean, you can go buy tickets online. You don't have to be in the industry to get in. I mean, you can be an exhibitor, or you can just buy tickets as a bourbon enthusiast and go in. The only maybe negative thing I would say is you can buy some really good bottles there, but you don't get to. They do mark them up a little bit. I would expect at that event you could buy them at retail, like with Bourbon Fest, for example. Like the Bardstown Bourbon Fest in September, the big one every year, you're at least buying the bottles at the event at the same price you'd pay at the distillery.
Mm-hmm.
Here they do mark them up a little bit above retail, but people come in from all over the world to this event as the one they choose to go to, and they're willing to pay it. So, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I don't buy anything there. So I have a store I know. So
shout out Gold Eagle. We haven't said Gold Eagle yet.
Yeah.
Riverton Party Store.
If you want to drive 3 hours away, go for it.
So yeah, Let's talk about this one.
So
this is pretty tasty.
So this Dark Arts is an 8-year bourbon. It's their same mash bill that they use in their standard French oak release that they have year round. It's the same mash bill as that, but this is finished in white port casks to give it a huge, in my opinion, stone fruit flavor profile that we felt really takes away from the proof of this being full proof. When we pick ours at the oak, we try and stay under 120s generally. And even Rich, our primary owner of the restaurant, who's been running it since day one, his wheelhouse is like a 110. So I've been pushing him a little higher when I've been going in and doing the picks with him. But as long as it doesn't drink that, I'm a 115 to 120 guy is my wheelhouse. I don't get that Kentucky burn unless it's like a 120 plus, which I don't care for as much. But this one, I think, masks the proof in one of the best ways with the finish of the cask. Yes. And that's really what we were going for, and something that we could release. Knowing the timing, we picked it in January. The lead time to get your bottles after a barrel pick is usually in that 14-week, give or take range. So we knew it would be one we could drop right as summer's approaching, right as the patio opens. And we actually brought in the entire Dark Arts portfolio for their year-round stuff. And when I talked about doing flights earlier in the podcast, you can do a Dark Arts flight. They put us some cool table tents and stuff to introduce the brand into the restaurant, do the flights of their year-round picks that are available, and then we're going to put our pick into that flight as well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, this is like you said, you definitely get those stone fruits, but it still has a pretty light character.
I still get a lot of vanilla on it.
Yeah. It's not over as there's a fire truck in the back.
Yeah. It's an active Sunday morning in Mundelein.
They're really honking that horn.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Wait, that one came from that way, and that one's going back that way. Why didn't they just stay on the sides that they came from?
They're going all over the place today.
That's an Illinois thing right there, if anything I've ever seen it. We'll send this fire truck from the east to the west, and the one from the west to the east.
That's a damn thing about
Fire department logistics from Dan.
And the fact that he knows east, west, where.
Well, north's there, so you look at a compass at north, east, south.
Yeah.
Not that something you should know as a man, Jake.
I mean, we're at a place that you don't live, and you're just like,
I know, so you should know. That's why you should know your
west.
directions.
Yeah.
What happens if the zombies come? How are you gonna get home, Jake? Where are you going?
Another damn.
I think you can figure it out.
Yeah. That's what I got my phone for, GPS.
Yeah.
It's super well balanced for having such a sometimes can be heavy finish with port, whether it's white or regular.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of white port, so I think a lot of people don't really know what they're getting into when they see white port, and that might be a little scary because
I normally don't like a red port finish.
Sherry finish. A lot of times I find that they're overdone with the red fruits, and so I think white port might scare people away, and it's a very kind of distinct wine as it is itself. You don't really see a lot of white ports on the market in general, but I think with this you get all the benefits of the port without that red fruit forwardness.
Yeah,
like it definitely softens up the whiskey a little bit. It allows the whiskey to shine a little bit more than what you would find in a regular port finish. And stone fruit and 115 proof, but I would have guessed probably lower proof than the Whistle Pigs.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't even taste much higher proof than the two bottles we just had.
No.
I mean, you can tell it's slightly higher, but not like. Yeah, I would have guessed maybe like 110.
Yeah, one thing we've learned from all the Macaulay product that we've tasted is his ability to know the right timing to pull that juice from the barrel for a finish. He's the head alchemist for a reason. I mean, his ability to know when to pull it, when it's ready, and at that point you want for flavor is just so unique. And the tasting experience doing a single barrel pick with him, I mean, you're overwhelmed with your options because you walk into a room. We sat down, some nice leather couches, a cool table. They had some, some accompaniments like some nuts and some chocolates and some fruits and things like that. The cashews, yeah. But he just has this wall of wooden stave shelves, and they're all different colored bottles like this based on the types of finishes and ages. And there's probably 40 different single barrels that are ready to go and that he deems are ready to go into the program for single barrel picks. Plus whatever he has hiding in the back room, like that's always, I'll pull this one out too and see what you like. But we lined up, I think we tasted 14 different single barrel products that day. And we had narrowed it down to 4. And we then kind of had to decide like what's in the market, what's something different, what's something unique that you're going to hopefully only find with us. We really, really loved one that was the Japanese Mizrana barrel. It was a toasted Mizrana single barrel. But come to find out at the time we were picking, he told us this is going to be our next blended product that's going to be year round in the market. And that actually a month later, 6 weeks later was their new year round offering is that new Japanese Mizrana, which is a phenomenal whiskey. Don't get me wrong, but why I didn't want a single barrel against something that's going to actually release before we drop our single barrel. And this was our number 2 pick. And this one I think is super approachable to put in the flight of their standard product as well, because you get their barley corn, they're 50 barely legal 51%. You get their French oak, which has a nice robust flavor profile. You get their Amberana rye, which I mean you could have that for dessert. We're looking at ways to integrate that into some like flambéed type dessert at the restaurant.
And we've talked about this before, or that particular Amberana before.
Yeah.
In our Amberana episode, that like that's one of maybe like 2 or 3 like acceptable Amberana finishes on the market.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a shame that Amberana was so overdone because there was so much stuff that got put out there that was just not good.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one of those where it's not overly offensive, and come to find out, I think rye works a lot better with Amberana than
for sure.
does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when he's got the other one that's the maple and Amberana.
The maple
that
Amberana
really pushes it over the top.
I think I just opened my last bottle of the very first batch that was only the 1 barrel I had left. I opened that over the holidays. So, yeah, I'm going to miss that one when it's gone. Saving it for next Christmas to finish. So, but, it came down between those. We did have one that was actually a much older, I think it was a 12-year or close to 12-year Armagnac finish. But it was going to be a very low yield and a very high price point for the restaurant to try and sell.
Yeah.
We try and keep things at a price point that's affordable to go in and trust the restaurant and still try and, walk away with a bottle. And that would have probably been a $200+ bottle for sure and a lower yield. But having had the 10-year Armagnac finish single barrel that we did last year, the Gold Eagle Adventure Club pick that ended up winning awards and was an amazing single barrel. I was like, let's do this one. I'll just buy it. I don't worry if we don't put it to the restaurant. I know a store, and I'll just stock up my cellar and sell it. Or that'd be one you can get in the back room of the restaurant, pour out from the back of the restaurant. But, but this became a very unanimous choice when we weighed in all the options, which is important to do on a barrel pick. You can't, you're going to get to barrel picks where you might find 3 that are phenomenal, and won them all, and you got to decide, and you got to pick what's going to be the right choice for business operations as well, and going to satisfy your customers. And no one left unhappy saying this is the one we picked.
Yeah, I mean, it's super approachable, and it's not heavy, you know. So like you said, it's coming out in summer. This is a really good summer pour. Yeah, I think it's pretty versatile too. I wouldn't probably put this in a cocktail
Right,
just because of
this-
the price
Yeah, I
point.
don't
But
even know. What I
No,
would
this
put
would be
in.
a very tough This could be an overproof bourbon smash if you did like a
Yeah,
peach, maybe
Yeah.
a stone fruit peach type bourbon smash. It doesn't need extra sweetness,
yeah,
which
no.
is key. So you got to kind of balance that.
But this would be like I bet this would open up like crazy with a couple drops of water too, or an ice cube or something.
Right.
too.
Right. So I think this is going to be really one. I have a neighbor who drinks what he calls bourbon slushies. He has one of the pellet ice makers,
Yeah.
the Sonic Ice, and all he does is he fills a full old fashioned glass. He just fills it with pellet ice and then fills it with bourbon to the top. And they drink Weller's Special Reserve bourbon slushies. He's like,
This would actually sound.
Yeah.
Bourbon slushies don't sound good to me, but this might work.
Yeah.
so I'm curious
Especially
to
not
let him try
after
this one.
SR proofs down to like
Mhm.
20.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's not a big whiskey aficionado, but he likes the softness and he likes it just that cold.
Yeah.
Just sip it. He doesn't do well with neat pours. I'll just. He
I
has
heard
been
about
to
that
the.
story.
He has been to the Divine Bar a few times, and yeah. He
Needs
He
the ice.
remembers
That
part of
floor,
the trip.
That floor is not too comfortable.
Yeah.
he never hit the floor, but he did fall asleep in the chair.
All right, Gary. So when is the event for this again, where people can come out and try these things?
So the event is June 24th, 6:30 p.m. It is $50. Like I said, the $50 gets you the 2 cocktails and a neat pour of the dark arts, and it gets you past appetizers, and we'll have guests there. Wilson will actually be there from Whistle Pig talking about the Whistle Pig story. We're working on another special guest, hopefully that can make it as well for the other side for dark arts. I'm trying, but he's pretty busy with opening up his new. He just opened up their new store tasting room in Lexington. It's a really cool spot. I'm going down there to see him on the 20th. So I'll be down in Kentucky.
To pressure him to come on the show.
Yeah. So
I will. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean he wants to, but I mean he's running an amazing
he's doing
company
a lot of
and
work.
he's busy and he's newly married, or engaged. So engaged. I don't know if they're married yet, but I met his wife to be in February. She's great, really cool girl. But yeah, I'm gonna go see him down in Lexington at the new tasting room on the 20th.
Nice.
We're going down to do just a kind of a plug for Oak. June 19th, I'm going to do a single barrel pick at Four Roses.
Cool.
So we are going to partner with the Whiskey Valor Foundation, which supports active duty and veterans of our military that struggle with responsible drinking habits. We were just certified to be the Stave and Thief certification course. We're a certified teacher. We provide free courses to active duty and veterans, but we only teach active duty and veterans.
That's nice.
And they let us put in an additional section in that course about responsible drinking habits as part of the Stave and Thief certification through us. So it's a pretty cool program. We're working on a program to offer free Uber rides as well, for if you have someone who's in the military, goes out, has too much to drink, rather than risk driving home and wrapping their car around a pole, or the worst that could happen, they can call and get a free Uber ride through our foundation. But if they start using the code too frequently, we will contact them personally and see if it's, hey, are you just being cheap and can't afford it, or is this masking a problem of alcoholism, mental health, something of that nature, and we'll put them in touch with local resources.
Nice.
So we're doing some really cool stuff with the veterans, and we're going to do this as a collaboration single barrel pick at Four Roses. They did promise us that we're going to get some pretty old juice in our tasting, so I'm hoping somewhere in the 12 to 15 year range for our single barrel.
Nice.
And we'll be dropping that in the fall as a charitable release for their organization.
Nice.
Cool.
And have the Whiskey Valor guys come up to
Maybe
talk.
that's a Bourbon Matters charity bottle we could do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got to talk about that too, because I think we're ready for the next one, and I think we're ready to send some money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We got enough collected now to actually send it. Not that we weren't going to, but but yeah. So we need to get a new bottle for that, and then make the contribution and talk about what the next charity is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done about 3 or 4 now for.
Yeah.
Well, I did also bring a little bonus pour if anybody wants another single barrel pick. We haven't done the official drop for this one yet, but we do have available for pouring our Penelope Toasted Barrel Level 5 Char. So I brought that. It's a Level 5, 108 proof heavy toast. We called that one Birthday Cake, which was appropriate. And I pulled one out of the reserves, our Angel's Envy barrel pick that we still have a few available in the restaurant for. We did this in 2023.
Nice.
At the time we did that pick, we were one of only 2 single barrel Angel Envies released to restaurants in Illinois.
Oh.
It was us and Alinea.
Oh.
And we picked that
a nice
at
company.
Alinea with them, and we both picked our barrels.
Nice.
So you're more than welcome to have a pour of either one if you're choosing to. They're both available for pours
Force me.
at the restaurant right now as well. The Penelope is actually for sale by bottle too.
Cool.
We can do
Awesome.
that. We just haven't done an official release. Unfortunately, with the distribution backup, you never know when you're going to get your barrel.
Yep.
We picked an Elijah Craig single barrel and this Penelope on back-to-back days in end of October last year for our March 8th birthday party, and we still have not got our Elijah.
No.
And it was cool because the day we picked that Elijah single barrel, the barrel birthday was the day we picked it.
Oh, nice.
So we picked it in October. It was the 9-year dump date for that barrel. And we're like, perfect. This will be our birthday release. We picked it on its birthday. We'll release it on ours. And sure enough, it's like, where's that label? Where's that PO? And it never came in time. So we'll do another special release for these later, but we're not going to sit on it when it's sitting there.
Yep.
It's delicious. It's an amazing pour. So it's available as well in the restaurant now.
Awesome.
Jake, people want to try some other things that you can't get at the Oak. Where's a good spot to go try?
Thank you, Dan. Gold Eagle Wine and Spirits in Libertyville, 255 Peterson Road. You can go to our website, goldeaglewine.com. Follow us on Instagram at Gold Eagle Wine. Follow us on Facebook at Gold Eagle Spirits. And yeah, throwing it back to the Oak. Let's get another plug from the Oak.
Yeah, so Oak at the Glen. We're right on Tower Drive, 1811 Tower Drive. Last restaurant on the corner, easy to find. We're open 7 days a week. Dinner only on Monday, Tuesday, but at 11 to 10, I think, every day else of the week. We've got over 350 whiskeys and bourbons on our menu now, as well as a great cocktail list, great wine list for those that are more into the wine and good dining. I invite you to try some great Southern-inspired cuisine or a really good burger, and hope to see you in. And come on in and have a flight, have a single barrel pour. Hopefully, you get a bottle, and we still got spots in our barrel club. So the barrel club's pretty easy to sign up for. It's $425 for the year. You get a really cool Glen holder and barrel to and glass to go in there.
Shout out to Larry.
Larry, our guy, printed those up for us, did a great job. You can drop that thing down the steps, which I may have a few times, and that Glen survives.
What about throw it at the wall?
Probably could do that too. It's taking some tumbles. But with that 425, you also get every quarter you do get one of our single barrel releases. Those are all the bottles you're going to get in that program, or you're going to be saving money versus buying it single through the restaurant. And then any other barrel picks we drop through the year, you'll get first access before we release it in the restaurant.
Rich sold me last time, so
Yeah.
It's a great program. If you trust our picks, I invite you to come try some. You like what we're doing for a single barrel, you can go through a single barrel in a quarter. It's not like you're being just dumped bottle upon bottle. You're getting one bottle every 3 months, and it's a great value.
Nice. Jake, where can people listen, hear more about us?
So you can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts. You can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure to check out Movie Matters as well. Podcast about movies that me and my buddy Kevin do. It comes out every Monday. We're nearing our 100th episode. It's going to be our first movie that is in the 90s instead of the 80s. Because we're going to do Terminator 2, because it's like one of our favorite movies and like one of the best action movies of all time. So check that out, and I think it's next week or the week after that's going to drop in June. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and all that stuff to Bourbon Matters. I think that's it.
All right.
Thanks for coming, Garry.
Yep. Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Yeah, always a fun time.
All right. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.